Hi, today is November 3rd, 2021. It's a Wednesday, and I feel odd. I am so excited for this episode because my favorite person in the whole world, Morgan Graves, my best friend since my freshman year in high school and her sophomore year, so I guess 5 years ago, my best friend for 5 years is going to be talking about an artist that is now one of my most beloved artists of all time, one that she introduced me to. We're going to talk about song lyrics from Dodie Clark. I'm actually going to see Dodie in February, a few days before Valentine's Day, and I am so excited. This is kind of coming full circle because Morgan first introduced me to Dodie while she was still kind of small back in the beginning of high school. And now we both love and cherish her, and she came out with a debut album. So the times have changed, and she's grown as an artist, and we've grown as people. And I just feel very connected to not only Dodie, but to Morgan when I'm listening to her music. So I am so excited that Morgan chose Dodie lyrics to be on this episode because I think that's very representative of our friendship and something that we both love. So these are also words that I really cherish. So I'm so excited that Morgan picked an artist that we have in common and one that's kind of at the crux of our friendship. So without further ado, here is my best friend Morgan Graves talking about Dodie Clark's song off of her first EP, Life Lesson.
Okay, yeah, I think it's working. Okay, hi. Yeah, so something I've been thinking about, or remembering a lot, basically in the past year, or maybe half a year, are the lyrics to one of Dodie's songs, Life Lesson. I don't know if you know that one, but it's really short. It's on the Intertwined EP. And the lyrics are, when I'm 80 years old and alone in my chair, will I look back on safety and be glad I didn't care? No, I can hear her screaming, love, break, and learn. What else are you young for? Fuck it, hurt whilst you can. Yeah, and it's like a 20-second song. It's really quick. But I have made so many mistakes in the past year, both like practical and emotional, if that makes sense. But this has been really I think, youth is when you're supposed to make mistakes and when you're supposed to hurt. And I know that everyone says that to you, but I think it's very validating to read something from the perspective of an old person who's regretting not making more mistakes. I think we normally kind of think of it as, oh, when I'm older, I'm going to regret the mistakes I made. So it's very validating to read something that is kind of wow, I wish I had made more, and I wish I wasn't so sheltered. I have a really hard time pushing myself out of my comfort zone, and even though I'm still in college, still very young, I feel like I've already regretted not doing more things my freshman year, 2 years ago. I already have regrets of choosing to stay in, because I was a little bit nervous. I wish if it was a mistake to go out, if it had been a mistake to go out when I was a freshman, I kind of wish I had made that mistake, even if I would have had a terrible night instead of my peaceful, calm night staying in. Yeah, so that's been on my mind. I'm not saying I'm gonna go crazy, but people say enjoy your youth, and that's whatever. People valorize, no, sorry, people value youth, I think, a little bit too much. However, like, yeah, youth is your time to make mistakes. So I'm trying not to regret the mistakes that I have made in the past half a semester, half a year. And I'm not saying I'm trying to make more mistakes, but I want to be more willing to go outside my comfort zone, even if it does result in a mistake. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling. But I also wanted to add another thing I really like about that idea, like hurt whilst you can, you're young, is that it's kind of a glowing realization of the value of vulnerability. Um, and I think, like, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable is a very huge risk. But I don't think, I think I have regretted, like, other mistakes I've made. I don't think I've ever regretted being vulnerable. But I think I have regretted not being vulnerable, if that makes sense. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm weird, or I've had like only good experiences. But I think even my bad experiences of vulnerability, I don't think I regretted it. And being vulnerable is, to me, it feels like a reflection of having trust in another person, but also having trust in yourself and trust and love for yourself. Because you truly are like reflecting a very raw part of you when you're being vulnerable. And I think to do that, to be vulnerable around other people, you have to like love and trust yourself enough to put that part out in the world for another human other than you to recognize. So it's both like a self realization and then someone else realizing a part of you. I'm sorry, I've talked so much about this. It's only a 20-second song. But I do quite like the message of like, it's okay to be messy, and if you try so hard to be clean, you're eventually going to regret that you weren't messier. Feels kind of like backwards, but I think it's true. And it's just encouraging. As someone who probably cares, like, as someone who thinks a lot about, like, am I living my life to the fullest right now? And am I being mindful of everything around me? It's like a good, it's nice to hear that song, and it's nice to think about that idea and to kind of realize, like, oh, living this moment to the fullest requires, being true to yourself and, like, doing bold things and living boldly, which is something I don't think I do a ton. So, yeah, I like being messy, and I like putting my heart out, and I'm even okay with it being broken sometimes, because that's how emotions are produced, and emotions are beautiful, and feelings are beautiful, and people are beautiful. Yeah, it's midnight, so I'm a little bit sentimental, but this is really cool that you're doing this. Okay, love you. Bye.
I love you too, Morgan. If you guys wanted a glimpse into our friendship, I think that would be a good one, because we do send each other texts kind of all in a row like that, like a long rant, or even sometimes voice recordings like that. But it's always so good to hear Morgan's voice and hear her thoughts. I think that we think very similarly in how we love emotions and how we keep our hearts open, even if that means that they'll be broken. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and thank you so much, Morgan, for being on the podcast. I hope that from this Wednesday to next, you find something lovely to read. But for now, goodbye, and I'll see you on Wednesday.